All right, everybody, here to talk about personality styles and mastering the art of dealing with people. Because being in the business that we're in, we have to deal with the public. And dealing with the public can be both just rewarding, but also can be stressful because we have some clients who make our lives easy. Some clients who it's like effortless to work with. They do the things that we ask them to do. We end up being great friends with them afterwards and really makes our job feel like it's not even a job. It's just we get paid to hang out with cool people. Where there's other people who it's almost a point of what the heck did we get ourselves into? We start even doubting ourselves as people, and we even start sometimes doubting humanity as a whole. And it sometimes seems to be random, the luck of the draw, chance on who it is that we're dealing with and whether or not we can connect with certain types of people. And we start really asking ourselves, why are people the way that they are? Why are we the way that we are? And it seems random, and what the heck am I ever going to have an easier time doing it? So the question is, what if it wasn't really that way? What if there was actually a predictable pattern, a scientific way of dealing with people, of how people operate, a reason behind why they do what they do? And what if there was a nice, easy way to categorize people in a manageable way that helps us be more effective with our communication, but also to help bring some sense to this seemingly senseless world at times, right? So the question I have for you is, would you want to know? Would you want to know that way of categorizing and dealing with people? And a simplistic way, and I will not say is the end all be all, but a way that has helped me personally and a lot of other agents, a lot of other business people, is to categorize people into 4 quadrants. These go by different names. The way that I was always taught and the way that's most simplistic for me are the 4 quadrants of the driver, the expressive, the amiable, and the analytical. Now, these will sometimes be called DISC, and they'll have like letters D-I-S-C, and sometimes they'll have color codes and all of that. So before we get into the weeds here, I want to first go over some points to remember, is that there is no right personality. You know, one is not better than the other. They all have positives and negatives and all of that. And a phrase that I tend to kind of live by, if you will, and it helps to go along with this, is that people do the best they can with what they have. Is there's a reason why people are acting the way that they do, and that they're doing the best that they can given the circumstance. Another thing to remember, we are in sales. And being that we're in sales, sales is all about influence and persuasion. Let's not sugarcoat what it is that we do. And you cannot influence someone when you are out of rapport with them. Oftentimes we think rapport is, talking about they like fishing, we like fishing, and getting commonality. But in reality, rapport is often achieved through unconscious communication, the words behind your words, and what it is that we're able to do to connect with them on a deeper level, not just, you like this, I like that, let's be so common and alike. And this is also not about faking your personality. This is not being a chameleon and a sociopath and doing all of that. This is more about being able to see and experience the world or things from their perspective, really to enter the world of the person who you are trying to influence and persuade, AKA help our clients in the purchase and the sale of their largest investment. And sometimes you might learn this in like marriage and family counseling, like, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Oftentimes with a spouse. Another way to look at it is, do you want to be right, meaning arguing the point, or do you want to be rich? Sometimes we have to think beyond what we believe is right to what's going to help get the job done, right? Do you want to be right or do you want to be rich? And in one word, it's versatility, being able to work with a diverse group of people and not only working with people who are exactly like you. So again, going back into the whole part of this, the 4 quartiles, is the driver, the expressive, the amiable, and the analytical. So let's quickly break down these little continuums, these lines. So the horizontal line is the line of emotion. The left side of the line, they're more unemotional, non-emotional. Full disclosure, I don't know what's the correct way. So I just wrote them a couple different ways. So I wrote unemotional on the left-hand side of that emotion line. On the right-hand side is more emotional. Where the vertical axis, the y-axis, is more the assertiveness line, where down below they are more non-assertive and above they are more assertive. So to kind of overlay this, people above that horizontal line are more assertive. Drivers and expressives are more assertive in the way that they talk and the way that they operate. People below that line are more non-assertive. They are not as assertive. They kind of more have an unassertive, non-assertive way of operating. Same thing on the right-hand side of this emotion line, right, is more emotional. Expressives and amiables tend to have more emotion or express themselves in a more emotional way. Because not always this is who they are, but who they operate or how they operate and how they communicate and how they take in information. Whereas on the left-hand side, the driver, the analytical, are more unemotional. So to kind of put this all together in a single slide, if you will, you have your driver, the expressive, the amiable, analytical. People more on this top side are more assertive, the bottom side more non-assertive, left side they're more unemotional, the right side they are more emotional. So let's take a quick look at all 4 of these into how to deal with those different types of people, starting with the driver. Okay, the driver is considered to be more assertive and unemotional. What they care about, what they value, are results and their time, meaning don't waste their time and get the job done. Okay, they make decisions quickly and decisively, and it's very difficult to get them to change their mind. When they make up their mind, it is incredibly difficult for them to change their mind, and they hate it when people try to change their mind, especially if it goes against their values of results and time as they perceive them. They're very bottom line oriented. They don't care much about details. They don't want long drawn out presentations. They just say, just give me the information. Let's get it done because my time is worth more than anything. Okay, so making sure when you're dealing with a driver, you're talking about bottom lines, not giving them all the nitty gritty details. Okay, they may seem rash and arrogant. Because they're so quick to get things done and to make decisions, they may seem rash and arrogant. And when they start to feel uncomfortable or challenged, they may boast about prior accomplishments as rationale between why they make decisions so quickly. Well, I've been doing this for X number of years. I've made this amount of money. I've started these businesses. I know what I'm doing. And that may come across as arrogant. But it's because they value their time so much, they would rather be wrong and double down than waste time deliberating too much. They're thought of as tough nuts to crack because they're rash and oftentimes arrogant. But if you do crack them, or if they have confidence in you, they are the easiest clients to work with because they defer to people who they feel are experts. They defer to people who they feel are credible, who they put their trust in, and they are easily swayed when they believe in these people. So oftentimes these people get taken to the cleaners by the wrong people who they put their faith in. So it's something to keep in mind. What I find important is to also talk about when you push certain types of personalities too far, when you get on their bad side, right? When you push a driver too far, they turn tyrannical, meaning pounding their fists on the table saying, this is the way it is because I said so. Typically is when you try to change their mind about something, or if you if you counter what they're saying as right, they will often double down regardless if their position is right or wrong. They will turn tyrannical. One of the interesting things about drivers is they are one of the few types of personalities who can compartmentalize business from personal, meaning they may be very upset at you in a business sense, but if their family, this typically happens with like family businesses, right? Where there's the patriarch or sometimes matriarch who is the tyrannical business entity. They will choose somebody out and then invite them to dinner 20 seconds later, right? So they'll turn tyrannical, double down fists on the table. Expressives. Expressives are more assertive, but are also emotional. And they value more the experience of the item at hand, the enjoyment factor. They want things to be fun. They want things to be easy. They still want things to get done, but they care more about the experience. Life is a journey. Enjoy the process, that sort of a deal. They make decisions quickly. However, they also can change their mind quickly, can bring some people who are more analytical, it can drive them crazy, that it can be seemingly on a whim, okay? They're open and spontaneous. They're oftentimes the life of the party. They like to be the center of attention. Compliments with expressives go a long way. Complimenting them on their outgoingness and the great things about them can go a long way with these types of people. They often use anecdotal stories and quote unquote gut feelings over facts and statistics when making decisions, which is great if you're also that way. But if you're not, if you're more statistical, more procedural, this drives you crazy. So understanding that these people can make decisions quickly, but can also change their mind quickly if they start getting a quote unquote bad feeling or a bad vibe or whatever. Important to know. When you push an expressive too far, they become combative, not so much tyrannical, but they are more emotional, and they will bring up emotional things on how you're making them feel. Weird thing about expressives is they will oftentimes hang up the phone because they're so upset, and then will oftentimes call back and apologize because they are emotional. They understand that they got emotional. Whereas the driver will never call you back and say, I'm sorry, I was upset, right? Because there was a reason why they were upset, an unemotional reason, right? Amiables, for example, they are more non-assertive, but they are also emotional. They value relationships over everything. They are oftentimes slow in the decision-making process, which can drive more assertive people crazy, that they can never make up their mind, right? They are friendly and warm, agreeable, and very empathetic. They want the team to win. They will use a lot of we words, and they want a common goal. They want everything to be a win-win situation. They have a high need for approval. They want validation because relationships are so important to them. They want to feel like they're a part of a team, and not just that they're a part of a team, that they are a valuable member of that team. And they need reassurance. More reassurance on the emotional side, not so much on the, is this a good decision or not, but how will this decision affect the team? Not so much is this a financial thing, it's how this is going to help them and their team, their family, and everything. When you push an amiable too far, meaning you try to hard close them, you do whatever, and a true amiable most often will agree to save the relationship in the moment. They want to appease the team. They want to do things that are right for the team. But when the stress level dies down, they have more time to think. They will oftentimes back out later. So this happens a lot when you try to close them for an offer and they write the offer. They even get the offer accepted, and then they call you back later and they'll say, you know what, I've been thinking about it and I just don't think that it's really right for us. But in the moment when the pressure is on, they will oftentimes agree until that tension dies down, and they'll find a way to back out later. It's important to know that is typical for an amiable person. Okay. And analytical, the analytical side, they are more non-assertive and unemotional. They value details. They value process, being correct. They want this to be the right decision. They make calculated decisions slowly, but decisively. When they come up with their decision, when they make their decision, oftentimes it is very decisive, and it is almost impossible to get them to change their mind. They're very structured, they're very organized and process oriented, okay? Oftentimes, again, none of this is 100% of the time always, but as commonalities, they're structured, organized, process oriented. They will ask detailed questions and require facts, figures, and data sources. Don't just say this is how it is. You want to give them specific facts, figures, data sources, and so on, to the reason beyond the answers. This is also the one personality type that I've found that they may test you by asking questions that they already know the answer to see if you know the answer or if you're going to lie to them. This is the one personality style that I know and have experienced that does this, that they'll actually test you, and you may think that the whole conversation went so great and it was an awesome conversation, and for some reason that you never hear from them again. It was because you failed their test, right? Because if you push an analytical too far, they will withdraw and then ghost you. They won't oftentimes deal with it up front because they're more non-assertive. They're non-confrontational as a whole. They will most often withdraw, push the decision off that they have to think about it, and then never engage with you again. And you'll be left thinking, what happened? I don't understand. It was a good conversation. We were in good rapport. It was because you either failed their test or they felt pushed. And maybe the decision-making process was rushed and done without the process that they needed. Again, none of these personalities are wrong. Just know that there are these different types of personalities that have similarities. And a simplification is the drivers care about results and time, and when pushed too far, they turn tyrannical. There is no, if you know of a true driver, and you may be thinking of one right now, when they're in their tyrannical mode, there is no talking to them. There is no reasoning with them. They're in their double down tyrannical moment. Expressives, again, care more about that effort, the experience. Life is a journey. They will be pushed too far. They turn combative, and they will bring emotion into it, how you make them feel, okay? But good news is they will oftentimes be the ones that engages in the repairing of the of the relationship, so long as you do not engage in emotional defensiveness where you call them something that breaks that emotional connection. If you stay calm, cool, and collected, they will oftentimes call you back and apologize. Amiables, again, they care about the relationship, the team. When pushed too far, they often agree, but then back out when the relationship isn't strained or the stress level is down. Analyticals, again, care about details, process, structure, the correctness, the way things are supposed to be, the rules. And if pushed too far, they will oftentimes withdraw. Something to note is that people will have two personalities. One, under normal circumstances, their guard is down. When you're hanging out with your friends, when you're with your loved ones, you have your natural way of being. And they also have how they operate under stress. Okay? Like in a real estate negotiation environment, right? When you get a bad request for repair, or when something goes wrong when you're under stress. It's very typical for an expressive to turn into a driver under stress. right? It's very common for an amiable under stress to turn more amiable, you know, because it's a continuum. So at the upper ends of the corners is your 100% driver. Sometimes people have categories of a different combination of driver and expressive. They might be slightly analytical, but also amiable. But under stress, they will change. And it's important to know that it's not random. It's how they have been conditioned to operate and how they've been conditioned to protect themselves under stress. So when you have a client who seemingly becomes a different person all of a sudden, understand it's because stress has become induced into their being. So once you understand that, deal with how they are in that moment, deal with driving their stress level down so they can go back to the person who they normally are so they can make the best decisions possible. So a question is, how can you quickly tell who somebody is? Easy way when you're meeting somebody in person is smile and speech. When you meet with them, do they smile? Or do they not? And then their speech. Is their speech loud and fast? Or is their speech a little slower, a little lower? Do they smile? And what's their speech like? So if they smile, chances are they're more on the emotional side. They may shake your hand, say, hi, how are you doing? They have a smile on their face. They're usually considered more emotional. If they're a driver or an analytical, they oftentimes, when they first meet with you, they won't smile. They'll just give you a little head nod, right? They may give you a little smirk and a head nod, right? And then if they start talking fast and talking a little louder, they're going to be higher on that assertive level. Then you might be dealing with a driver or an expressive. If they're talking a little slower, a little lower, they choose their words carefully, they're going to be more on the non-assertive side, more analytical and amiable. So combining those two on do they smile and what's their speech like will help give you a quick idea on how they operate. And this is a continuous process where what I used to do is to envision almost like a video game. When I first met them, I would see this grid overlaid in front of the person who's talking. And as they're walking up for an open house or whatever, I would start noticing also what's their body language like. Is their chest puffed out walking with some, with a quicker pace? Or are they slower, their shoulders hunched, they're taking a little bit more time? You can start to get an idea of how this person is and how they want to be perceived at that moment. It may not be their true personality, but in that moment, it's how they want to be perceived. And when you're dealing with people, speak to them as they want to be spoken to in that moment. And that will help you at least break that barrier of that initial part of the conversation. So the question is, okay, that's great. How do you use this practically? Okay. Step one, know your own personality style. Hopefully, listening to this, you got a little insight into yourself, and maybe you started thinking of yourself in a certain way. Know the pros, know the cons of your own personality style, okay? Then start thinking back on your recent clients and people who you've engaged with recently. Maybe this brings some clarity and some logic behind the seemingly illogical reasons why they did what they did. And then also moving forward, practice identifying personalities, whether that be with your friends, your family, upcoming clients, okay? Start looking and listening for clues to make this part of your natural way of dealing with people. And then think about what is important to your clients before you respond. Remember and remind yourself, what's important to my client? They may be saying a lot of things, but am I just reacting to what they're saying? Or am I thinking about what's their core values first while addressing their stated concerns. Because oftentimes we just respond to stimuli rather than thinking through objectively, what are these people saying behind their words? How can I speak to what they're thinking? Because true influence is being able to speak to what people are thinking, not just what they're saying, if that makes sense. Okay. And also adjust how you operate based upon those feelings. Again, not faking your personality, but being more versatile, being able to put yourself into their shoes, so to speak, entering their world, speaking to what they're thinking, and don't take things personally. Understand it's not about you. It's their personality style. Now, you may have triggered something, but that wasn't because of who you are not being coinciding with who they are. It's you did or said something that triggered something within their core personality. And you need to figure out what that was, why that was, and how you can walk yourself back. And also the last one is have fun with it. Don't look at this as like an end all be all, whatever. This is a oversimplification of what is it now, 8 billion people in the world, right? But this is a good way of simplistically breaking it down, categorizing people to at least making what we do manageable, where it's not that we're dealing with, 8 billion different people. There's really 4 different people, categories, ways to do it. And I promise you, if you operate more from this perspective than the other perspective, which is all of these people are crazy, nobody makes any sense, right? You're going to have a lot better time. And I truly feel this is the key that will help you unlock working with different clients, that will help you be able to bring sense and bring logic and bring clarity to this crazy business that we work in with these high stakes scenarios where it's really easy for stress to overwhelm our clients and in terms for it to overwhelm us if we don't know how to deal with them. So I hope this was helpful, but I know that for me, this was a key distinction that has really helped me understand people better, but also have an easier time with influence, with persuasion, and helping clients make good decisions and how to elegantly break down barriers to help them get what they truly want. And that's ultimately what our job is. And I hope this was helpful to you. Feel free, let me know if you have any questions.